Let me start this one with a story. Several years ago, I started a history of Christianity class session with a simple 2-minute writing exercise. I asked students to recall basic information from a video that I had assigned them to watch before class began. As I walked the room, I saw a few students writing furiously. I saw more students write down 1 or 2 words, and I saw a lot of students doing a beautiful impression of a deep thinker while they looked blankly at their notebooks. I was disappointed, of course. This was a simple, low-order task, just remembering basic information. But I was not surprised. I had checked the learning management system just before class and saw that less than 1/3 of the students had watched the videos I had assigned. The result? The few students who were prepared benefited from the activity, and the majority of class just sat there. What I had stumbled into is one of the biggest dangers of interactive learning. Here's the thing. Active learning, or what I like to call interactive learning, is more effective than lecture for critical thinking and understanding. We must use it, but it doesn't work automatically. So today we're going to look at the 3 most common traps, the perils of interactive learning, and I'll give you 3 corresponding fixes to make sure you're not wasting class time. Let's start with the undisputed good news. You are right to use interactive learning methods, things like discussion, problem solving, debates, or even just brief writing exercises. For the last few decades, a strong consensus has emerged in education research. Interactive learning is demonstrably more effective in helping students develop deep understanding and a range of critical thinking skills. It also positively affects their attitude and motivation. So this isn't about abandoning active learning. It's about being honest that these methods come with potential perils that, if ignored, can derail your class and your learning objectives. So let's look at the 3 biggest pitfalls instructors must keep in mind. Peril number 1, the garbage in, garbage out trap. This is the trap I walked into on that day years ago when so many of the students had not watched the video I had assigned. Interactive learning relies entirely on prior knowledge. If your students aren't prepared, if they haven't done the reading or watched the video, then your amazing activity becomes basically a waste of time. The core problem? You cannot correct misconceptions or connect new information to existing knowledge if the prior knowledge is simply absent. A related garbage in, garbage out issue is the timing mistake. If you're running, say, a think, pair, share, and you don't allow enough time for the initial think part, the activity is ineffective. You're skipping the required individual work, the intellectual priming that students then bring to the rest of the conversation. Peril number 2, the cognitive fluency deception. This is perhaps the most frustrating peril. Many students will actively resist interactive learning. Why? They resist it because it requires more effort, and they feel like the blind leading the blind when they're asked to work with their peers. The myth is that students learn really well from lots of expertly delivered lectures. They just want to hear the expert tell them the answers, and then they will learn. But the reality, this is a deceptive phenomenon called cognitive fluency. A smooth lecture feels easy to process, which deludes students into thinking that they're understanding the material. Meanwhile, when they're actually struggling in a difficult but effective active learning exercise, they feel like they're learning less because that feeling of mastery eludes them. The consequence of all this, these negative attitudes can hurt you come course evaluation time and can negatively affect students' participation and their grades. Peril number 3, throwing out the lecture baby. In the rush of excitement to embrace active learning, some instructors have stopped lecturing completely, but this is throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Lecture is still useful. Lecture should not be pitted against interactive learning. It is actually effective for foundational objectives like memorizing terms, definitions, and basic concepts, especially for novices. Lecture is often the best way to provide necessary organization for complex material or to display how an expert in the discipline solves problems. Good lecturers also tap into the emotional dimensions of learning through storytelling and relatable anecdotes that interactive methods may miss. These perils are not reasons to give up on active learning. The potential benefits are simply too great. So we need to deploy 3 systemic fixes. Fix number 1, the low stakes motivation. If students don't come to class prepared, you need to create additional low stakes motivations for them. Use a reading quiz at the beginning of class, a quick reflection turned in as they walk into class, or tie a minimal number of participation points to evidence of preparation. The low stakes ensure it's not punitive, but it creates the consequence necessary for them to do the work. Fix number 2, radical pedagogical transparency. We need to mitigate student resistance by being radically transparent with them. Explain the why. Tell your students why you are using any particular teaching method. Say something like, we're doing this think, pair, share because research shows that talking to a peer often helps you cement the concepts faster than just listening to me. And also, ditch the feelings of learning. Caution your students that feelings of learning and actual learning are not the same thing. Tell them that when learning is difficult, they often feel like they're learning less, but that struggle is actually desirable. Fix number 3, the dynamic lecture. Instead of eliminating lecture completely as you go full speed ahead into interactive learning methods, use lecture as a dynamic tool. So plan brief lectures. By brief, I mean 10 minutes or less that provide foundational knowledge or pique students' interests, but always intersperse them with those interactive elements. Remember that it takes time to get good at this stuff. Give yourself a semester or 2 to become comfortable with any new teaching technique that you use, especially these interactive methods. Don't discard a method just because it failed once. Ultimately, the promise of interactive learning is worth the peril. You just have to be intentional. Stop seeing it as like a magic bullet and start seeing it as an approach that requires clear guardrails. When you manage preparation, mitigate resistance, and maintain a balanced approach, you get the best of both worlds. Students who are engaged and students who are actually learning. All right, so now let's hear from you. What is the most common reason your interactive learning methods have failed? And which of our 3 fixes here from this video are you going to deploy in your next class? Let me know in the comments below. If this video helped you feel confident about making the effort, hit the like button. I've got new videos coming out with practical, dependable, motivating guidance for you college instructors. Make sure also to subscribe so you don't miss the next one.